Commissioner Brazil, say a prayer for us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, as we gather here today, let us be ever mindful of you. Help us to make the proper decisions in your eyes and for the people of our community. Please bless our staff, bless our troops, bless all who are gathered here today. Through Christ our Lord, amen.
Amen. Now call this will be a special meeting, public meeting, followed by a regular commission meeting. And we're waiting on Representative Shears.
He should be here.
He should be here any time, but I guess if we could get started maybe, and once he gets in, we'll go directly to him. All right, first is consent agenda, regular commission meeting on 8/1 and a workshop meeting on 8/8. Have a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Ashbrook. Second by Commissioner Brazil. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Commissioner Thursby will be a little bit late too. He'll be here about 10 minutes late, just for your information. All right, we'll skip right over our guest speaker. Anyone here from the Fort St. Joe Redevelopment Agency update?
Well, we can certainly, I'm sure most people have seen it, but the new gateway to historic Fort St. Joe went up last week, and we'll have somewhat of a ribbon cutting on, I think we got it scheduled for next Monday, which we can view the eclipse and have a ribbon cutting at the same time, so all welcome. That's it.
That's it?
Yep.
All right. Mr. Attorney, we'll go with you.
All right, Mayor, we have several items on the agenda today. The first is an update. I spoke with the William Leonard in this regards to the Wimco timber easements and the problems that we have with them driving the trucks by our water. I spoke to him, and basically where this stands with them right now is they had 2,000 acres that they were going to cut out there. They've cut 1,900 acres of it. They have 100 acres left to go. Their plan is sometime in between the fall of this year and the spring of 2018 to come in and finish that last 100 acres. He claims that that will take them about 3 weeks, and then they won't be out there again for probably another 15 years. So at this particular juncture, I think we should just leave our lock there at this time. When they're ready to go ahead and do that in the fall or the spring, then we can cross this bridge when we get to it. And it shouldn't be that long of a time. It should only be 3 weeks, and they'll be done, and then we won't have to deal with this issue for quite some time into the future.
So they're through with it until they start. They don't need to use that road anymore until they start on that other.
They got 100 acres left to do out there, which should take them about 3 weeks. But they don't plan on starting that
That's what I'm talking
until
about.
sometime in the fall or early spring of next year.
So they'll be off of it for a few months then. right?
Correct.
If you don't mind, we're going to go ahead and get on with our public hearing now with Representative Halsey Beshears. If you would come on up, sir.
Yes, sir.
We'll pick right back up there where we left off with you, Mr. Attorney.
That's fine.
Appreciate you coming.
Yes, sir.
Glad to see you.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me here. Appreciate the opportunity. I feel like I'm at the principal's office when I walk up here like this every time, I swear. I was asked to come down here just to give you a brief overview of what happened with the latest marijuana bill. It was Senate Bill 8A, I believe, was the actual official number at the very end. We ended up addressing it in special session. I know there have been some concerns all over House District 7, as a matter of fact, like Gulf County. They're all trying to figure out how to address that. And there are some very specific provisions in the bill that did pass and was signed that will help alleviate some of that. So I was here to answer those questions. But to give you a real brief overview, to remind you where we came from, I thought I'd take literally 2 minutes. If you'll indulge me, sir, and you know I'm very brief always, so I will give you the executive version. If you remember, this bill was introduced originally in 2013. There were originally 5 licenses that were issued, and they had to be to qualified nurseries throughout the state. They were separated by region in terms of who could get that license. 5 were originally awarded. Fast forward now to 2017, we have changed that number. It's come up to 10 licenses right now. 5 more will be awarded by October, and another 5 are going to be awarded after 100,000 patients. And I have a breakdown of this. It's very clear so you can see that, what's going to happen. And by that I mean 100,000 registered patients, not 100,000 people that are out there right now that are applying. These are actually have to be registered patients with the Department of Health and have their card. The other thing that was important there is expanded from in terms of who can apply for this, and I think that's a very important piece of it. Originally it was a very small, narrow patient focus, but now it's been expanded to cancer, epilepsy, glaucoma, AIDS, post-traumatic stress disorder, Crohn's disease, Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis, and any other condition that the doctor terms as terminal. Again, I think the other important piece of this is 2 doctors have to sign off on any portion of this. That's been another argument about the bill because it restricts patient access. It doesn't make sense to take 60 days to get your card if a patient really is terminal, within the next 45 to 60 days. The turnaround time on these cards has been a real issue from the get-go, and how long it takes for the government to get one issued. Again, one of the reasons I ran was because let's get the government out of the way and let the private sector try and figure out how to do that. And that piece was addressed in this last piece of legislation. They're going to outsource how the cards are permitted to a private agency in terms of, think about a hunting license or a fishing license, if you will. They'll have a third-party vendor that comes in and actually issues them, reaches into the database. That way they'll get their turnaround time quicker. That was the idea behind that. The last thing I think that was most important on this that a lot of the counties were wanting to address, and I have a cheat sheet here as why to be very specific on that. There was one provision in there that said the county is allowed to ban any and all medical marijuana treatment centers. You have the right at local control to ban that center. However, if you do not ban it, it is an all or nothing deal. The free market will be allowed to come in. You cannot restrict just how many number of dispensaries come in. You cannot restrict them any more than you would any other pharmacy business that came in. Let me say that again so we're real clear. You can either ban it 100% and allow no dispensaries or medical licenses facilities, or if you decide to allow them, you cannot determine the number of dispensaries, but you cannot limit it any further than you would any other pharmacy operation. Does everyone understand that?
I got some clarification.
Absolutely, absolutely.
If we can't do it any differently than any current pharmacy that we have, does that mean that we would have to allow them close to any pharmacy that we currently have in town?
It's the same restriction as any pharmacy business. So you can restrict it in terms of what school, how far you want it from a school or a certain place, but you can't restrict them in terms of, really it boils down to a number of dispensaries.
But if we have pharmacies currently in commercial locations, would we have to allow them in any commercial location?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it kind of takes away from us being able to restrict it geographically to a specific place, because we already have 2 pharmacies that I'm aware of.
Next to a school?
Well, not necessarily in 2, but in town.
There are restrictions on those pharmacies, I think, if you'll probably look, and I can't speak to that because I don't know specifically, but that was the thinking in it, to be very clear.
What I'm just trying to determine, if we decide that we want to allow dispensaries, would we have to allow them in any area where pharmacies currently are? So we couldn't restrict them to, say, out in the industrial park right now because we have 2 pharmacies in town. That's just what I'm...
Yes, sir.
I have a lot of people I've talked to don't quite understand that.
I've heard people say this before. I'm not a lawyer, but we are talking about the law, and so there are some gray areas there, I know. And the idea behind that was to give some deferment to local control. I think the biggest thing was they didn't want you to say, hey, well, we'll only allow 1 here because we have 17,000 people in the county and we're not going to allow any more.
I think that's going to be our big tripping point, is if we have to allow them wherever a pharmacy is now in that zoning district or designation, that's probably going to be a problem for us.
Sounds like an opportunity lawyer to talk to lawyers. So. Really, that's kind of the overall gist of it. Any current dispensaries that are in place are already grandfathered in, of course, which isn't a problem here in Gulf County. But I think I kind of hit all the highlights there that really addressed everything. If anybody has any other particular questions, I'd be glad to answer them, sir.
Was the crime element discussed at all? I mean, and I'm not necessarily worried about people breaking in to steal drugs, but it's a cash business. Was that ever addressed on controls? Are they required to have on-site security? Are the mechanisms for locking up their money spelled out in the laws?
May I, sir?
Yes.
The crime element was discussed in an argument against these institutions as a whole. The growing facilities, which are different than the dispensaries, do have a huge security element. In terms of dictating how those dispensaries have to operate in the business world, it seemed a little bit too overreaching to mandate, because of this is how you're doing business or this is what you may have on hand that you have to have extra security. I think anybody in this business is going to get into that, is going to realize they have to take extra precautions security-wise. Okay. So, and I hate it when legislators tend to stand up there and opine on how a business needs to run in the real world. So that was that argument was eliminated from it at the end of the day. Okay. I think another good point that you brought up, though, that what edibles, vaping are the two major ways that they can, and oils, which is through nebulizers, is how these products are introduced. That last little key component was because of the edible piece now, before they open up a new dispensary, they have to go through a food safety inspection now.
All right. Anybody else up here have any questions? Not about that, okay? While we're on that same subject, just let me address the audience. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to ask any questions about medical marijuana dispensaries or anything? Did you? You first.
I would just like to ask, is this something that's going to be discussed? I understand the commissioners will be having a conference at the state level this week.
Yes.
There is a class. There is a class on Wednesday all about medical marijuana legislation.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
This is McElroy, Fort St. John. Can you talk a little bit about the agricultural aspect of this? Will we have growers from other states supplying this? Will it be just Florida suppliers? How will all that work?
Thank you, and I'm glad she brought that up. Thank you for that. Currently, the licenses are restricted to Florida businesses only. As you know, it's against federal law to transport this drug across state lines, which makes you wonder how exactly this plant shows up in the state. It just magically appears. So those products are currently limited to Florida growers only. Another key component to that was it limited the number of dispensaries, and I'm sorry I forgot this, that the license is allowed to have. Right now, they're currently allowed to, if you have a medical growing license, remember this is a vertically integrated license, if you will, they're only allowed 25 dispensaries in the state. So that means they cannot have any more than 25 dispensaries or retail units per license. Therefore, it's going to be a challenge, Counselor, for you to worry about, these handful of licenses. I think personally bringing 3 or 4 dispensaries to Gulf County. Now that cap does go away in 2020. It is absolutely, it dissolves. And there's a limited also number, every 100,000 patients. After the first 100,000, they will allow 5 more dispensaries per license, if that makes sense. But to address Ms. McElroy's question, it's Florida companies only, and those dispensaries will have Florida products only. They're not allowed to bring in other products from anywhere outside of the country.
And I know we've already had one city in our area ban dispensaries. Mexico Beach did that. And my only thing would be, this is something that a lot of citizens voted for, a lot. And for them to have to travel from here to Tallahassee to get what they need, I just think we're not doing them justice if we say we don't want them here at all. And I feel like you say, we're not going to get 4. We may not even get 1.
Yeah.
But I would like to see one somewhere in this general area, either Gulf, Franklin, over on Jackson County or somewhere, Calhoun. Like I say, so people would not have to drive for a 200-mile plus trip just to get what they got.
Yes, sir. Couldn't agree with you more. I think that's You know, with Bay County, though, close by with a higher population density, it probably gives you a little bit more access than, say, a Franklin County, which is kind of stuck in the middle. But, you know, those are decisions, business decisions, those license holders are going to have to make.
I'll take my question. Is there be a sales tax bill on this?
Right now, there is not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, I think that's probably, I mean, I wasn't necessarily for it. The state spoke up, said they wanted it, and we've got to figure out a way. We're going to have to make a tough decision if we want it here locally. And I guess the cost benefit as far as tax-wise, revenue to the city or this county, you know, I'd like to see that. But do you think we'll see that anytime soon?
What exactly?
I guess a tax.
I can't speak to that. It's hard to say that any tax increase is going to really pass in this really Republican-heavy legislature right now. I think if anything does, they may give some local deference to allow maybe some of the counties and perhaps put a cap on it. That would be my only guess.
So if it would come into the city or the county, we wouldn't see tax money off of any kind of revenue at all? Property tax maybe?
Don't understand.
Just property tax, just whatever local jobs create. That's it.
Anyone else in the audience? Come on.
I'm Cindy Schmidt. Two questions. Are y'all lights on?
Maybe we need to pull them closer. Can you hear now? Hear me now? Okay.
How many, licensed suppliers do we have, agricultural licensed suppliers do we have in Florida? Like, we have 7 right now.
Currently, right now, there are, I believe, 7 that are active. There are 2 more that were just awarded by a judge, I think, last month. I think the key number here, though, that you're really asking for is that there are 20 potentially right now. Yes, ma'am, that have to be done by October 2017. There's one license here, but I have a list of dispensaries. There are 2 other licensees. I'll tell you exactly how many dispensaries there are up here.
I don't care about dispensary,
Yeah.
I'm just wondering about the whole agricultural potential.
Just one license here in Gadsden County right now. Most of these nurseries that have been around a long time were from Central Florida, and so that qualification, I think, was removed as well in the statute. So anybody and everybody that's in that nursery business can qualify. Yes, ma'am.
All right, any other questions? Any more from up here? We appreciate you coming here today.
Absolutely.
Always look forward to talking with you, but there is some other question I think one of us commissioners might have on another subject.
Excuse me, I didn't have any questions. I just want to thank all of you for coming and taking care of our little city. We have just a few votes, but I think quite a rich history here, and I just want to personally thank you.
I'll bring up something. Extension of Long Avenue for our sewer and paving, we really need some help.
We
Is
talked
any
about,
money anywhere appropriated?
yeah, Brett and I talked about that here last week when I was over here, the week before, and so Vicki was going to get up with him. We're going to try and get that package and figure it out. There's $8 million in that fund right now for the city specifically, not for this city, but for cities all over the state.
Right.
So we're going to see what we got to do to help get that application in there and get it rolling. So
Okay.
I'm glad to help. Our office is here to help. Thanks for the opportunity to be here. You know that. And if anyone in the audience, anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Reach out to my office. I promise I'm not hard to find. So, but I appreciate the opportunity, commissioners.
Appreciate
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll pick back up our meeting where we stopped off at. Our attorney was talking about the Wimlico timber.
Correct. As I said, I spoke to Mr. William Leonard of American Forestry, who's running all the timber sales out in that area. And like I said, he had 2,000 acres that they were working on. They're down to 100 left. They're going to start working on it again sometime in between the fall and spring of 2018. And when they're done with, that'll take 3 weeks. And when they're done with that, they won't be out in that area for another 15 years.
Guys, I don't think we need to take any action on that. I mean, they're basically done. We got 3 more weeks left. I wouldn't want to start a legal battle over something that may or may not help us.
I wouldn't either.
Well, I'm gonna stand my case. I mean, I'm against it. I mean, because that's just one company that we're dealing with. I mean, that
How many companies use that road right now?
There's easements all through that area, and there's numerous companies.
And there's no access except for right there, right over our pipe.
And we
And that-
can't just put up a steel gate of our own.
It's gonna lead to problems, because they have,
It's on their
they
land.
have easements.
But the easements, I believe, are in different areas, not just necessarily right there in that particular place. There used to be bridges all across that waterway, and I mean, I think we're very vulnerable if we continue to allow that, so whatever. That's my
Maybe my
case.
suggestion would be if we just table it until the first meeting in September, do a little more researching on it.
And maybe me and Commissioner Lowry could go meet with these folks, something
Yeah.
along those lines, see if we
We'd
can
be glad to, I'm
hammer
sure
it
we
down
will.
exactly what the
Yeah.
situation is.
I mean, I think they're going to, I mean, the bridges have failed over the years because they became so old, from what I understand. And now they're using that portion as an access, ingress, but I mean, my case stands, guys, so.
Well, we need to
Y'all-
do something about it. You think it maybe any of those, bridges that are not there, that there's a possibility of working with them, us in the county maybe finding a different spot that they could cross?
Yeah,
Let's
Would
look at
think so.
that. Maybe take a ride
I mean,
out
the
there.
thing
and look.
is that they're gonna have to pay for it, you know? I mean, it's their easement that is, or their bridge, or wherever the bridges were have failed, you know? So,
That pipe's been there a long time, and there's been
It
log
has.
trucks riding over it a long time, and I think, you know, we're missing one critical piece of information, and that's an engineer saying whether it's safe or not for that weight limit. And with the absence of that, everything that we're doing is just guessing. I mean, we don't know that those trucks are gonna break through that pipe. We don't. It hasn't for years. I just feel like we're missing that piece of information. Is it safe for the log trucks to drive over the
You
pipe?
know, I don't know whether it's any more safe for the log trucks to drive where they're at, or put a bridge over the waterway that a truck could drive off of into
Right.
the canal. Or changing their route and making them drive miles right next to the canal all the way down. I don't know how safe that is either. I mean, the other alternatives don't necessarily seem really any better than it currently is.
Have we had any of our engineers go out there and look at it and tell us what they think?
I've spoken to Mr. Smallwood, and he's quite familiar with the areas, and where they're driving over it is, it can drive over it. It's as if they run off the road and go off to it. It's about 30 feet from where they're driving to where the pipe comes out, and the pipe's buried quite deep, 6 to 8 feet under the ground. His other concern was simply just the age of the pipe, being 70-something years old. It's hard for him to be determinative what weight could be on it or not on it, given the age of the pipe.
but they are running over the actual pipe, and that leaves us vulnerable. And I do not want to see the day that the water, that thing is crushed and the city has no water. I mean, that would be catastrophic, and I'm not here to, I mean, if it comes down to a vote, I'm against it. So, I mean, I'm willing to work with them anyway, but we gotta shut that off.
But if we vote against it, then we're gonna have to go to court. Am I right?
Well,
I mean, because
There's
they
a
have an
good
easement
chance
already?
that we would.
Well, I tell you what,
We don't actually know where the access easements are.
then we need to
And
look
our
at all
attorney,
that.
our attorney has said there's
There's
easements all up and down that
It's
thing,
really
so-
hard to get to the bottom of it.
I think what happened was it came down to the last bridge and it broke, so they started crossing right there.
The other bridge?
Where it's basically a maintenance.
Well, when I did my tour of the water there, I spoke to Mr. Gay, who's the one that works out there,
Mm-hmm.
and he specifically said he was the one that removed those bridges because they were deteriorating so bad.
I can see that too.
We have a proverbial few minutes to figure this out.
Yeah.
At this particular moment, we have it locked out there right now, and we haven't received any calls. He said they're not going to be looking at it, going back out there until the fall or the spring of next year.
Why don't we, like I say, look at it until our next meeting and have it back on the agenda, and then let's make a decision on what we're gonna do.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay,
the
everybody?
engineer probably look at it.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd like more information before we make any decisions.
Clay? You jumped up on that.
Do you have
I don't
information?
really want to wade into this, but nonetheless, I'm gonna make a suggestion. In terms of the pipe and is it safe and all of that, inside the pipe, the condition of that pipe, nobody knows. Nobody's seen it. That's probably the strongest determining factor in is this safe to be allowed. Now, outside of that, you always have the potential for a truck to run over the head wall, run off the road, run over the head wall, and damage the pipe at that point. That would be an accident, be a one-time thing kind of deal. That's not something that occurs over time. That's somebody's not paying attention and it happens. Hadn't happened in 70 years, but that's not to say it won't happen the next time a truck goes around. So really two components to is it safe or not. In terms of the integrity of the pipe, I don't know if Mr. McClama has followed up with anybody. I know at one point he was looking at some companies to try. There are companies out there that can look inside that pipe and tell you what the integrity of it is. And I think he had some names that he was. It's going to cost you some money to do that, but there are companies out there that do that. If you're real serious about wanting to know what condition the pipe is in, that's the route you really need to go first, and then you can say, hey, this thing's still pretty stout, or you know what, it's been there 70 years, and based on these results, it's not real stout. So that's a
Larry,
suggestion,
do
but that's
you-
going to cost you some
How
money
much is
to
it
go
gonna
that route.
cost?
It'd be 5,000 well spent, I think.
We're talking about the supply line to our water systems.
Right. All right, any other discussion on this item to the next meeting in September? All right, go ahead now.
The next update I have is the Commerce lot. As you know, I've said I'm waiting for the executed quitclaim deed terminating the easement out there that Premier Magnesium Chemicals LLC has. The person that I'm in contact with, the general counsel, has been out of town last week. I've been calling all last week trying to, where is this? It's sitting on someone's desk up there. I haven't been able to get a hold of him. I called just before I came in. He's still out. So I have not obtained that termination of that easement as of yet. I expect to get it at any minute, but I know that I believe the contract is up to date. I still don't have that in hand.
What can we do to move forward?
I did talk to Ms. Burke about extension on there, so she's providing a 30-day extension, what she was working on, Mayor, to get to you.
Okay.
That would be no problem. I'm either gonna have it by then or I'm not.
Yeah.
I mean, is there somebody, just one person you're talking to?
Yes.
Does this person have a secretary or no?
Yes, but he's been out of town, so.
Secretary too?
No, but not the secretary.
Have you talked to the secretary?
I have, and she's supposed to be getting him back,
She's passing the buck.
so to speak. I'll keep calling until I get.
Right, right.
Let's just bring it back up next meeting, I guess.
Yeah. All right, next on the list.
All right, the next item or items that we have on the list, they're kind of in conjunction. It's ordinance 535, which is calls for a voluntary annexation of parcel 06077-00R from the county to the city. The next one after that would be changing the current designation. There's two lots, one right next to each other. One's currently in the city, one's not. That's what the annexation is for. Changing the one that's currently in the city from single-family residential to multifamily and designating the one parcel that we're annexing into the city as multifamily residential. What we're here for today is, this did go in front of the Planning and Zoning Board. They did vote to recommend adopting these ordinances to the commission. We're here today for a public hearing on both of these ordinances and the first reading.
Before you read, was the decision unanimous on adoption?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
We need to hear from the public first.
And yeah, we need to hear from the public on this. Anyone in the audience wish to speak to this annexation we're doing? Okay.
Make a motion.
Second.
All right, motion by Commissioner Thursby, a second by Commissioner Ashbrook. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion
Aye.
carries by vote.
Let me go ahead and have the first reading.
Yeah.
Ordinance 535, An ordinance providing for the voluntary annexation of parcel number 06077-00R, providing a legal description of the lands to be annexed, providing for the redefining of the city boundaries to include said lands, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. Next is ordinance 536, which goes in conjunction with that of changing of the local zoning changes. Like I said previously, it's changing the zoning from the one that was the parcel was already in the city, from single residential to multi-family residential, and designating the lot that we're now annexing into the city as multi-family.
All right, again, I'm asking anyone from the audience wish to speak on this issue. All right.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Ashbrook, second by Commissioner Thursby. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Ordinance number 536, an ordinance amending the comprehensive plan and the future land use map of the city of Port St. Joe, Florida, by and through procedures required for small-scale map amendments pursuant to authority under state statute section 163.3187, specifically changing parcel ID numbers 06067-00R and 06077-00R from low-density residential to high-density residential, providing for the amendment of the zoning map of the city of Port St. Joe, and providing for repeal of any conflicting ordinance, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. The next item up for discussion is ordinance 537, which we've done one previously. I believe it was ordinance 532. There's those certain lots on Woodward Avenue that were traditionally residential, but the zoning was changed to commercial. And what this is doing is basically taking certain lots that are attached on the attachment from commercial to allowing it for residential.
All right. Anyone from the audience want to speak on this issue? Anyone? All right.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion by Commissioner Thursby,
Second.
second by Commissioner Lowry. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Ordinance number 537, an ordinance of the city of Port St. Joe, Florida, amending the city of Port St. Joe land development regulations, providing for additional land uses in certain areas of the city, providing for density, setbacks, and lot coverage, providing for repeal of ordinance in conflict herewith, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
All right. Anyone from the audience on this? All right. What we got now? 538?
And last but not least, we have ordinance 538, and this deals with the miniature golf course that I was instructed to, that didn't fit our current zoning regulations where it was going to be placed, and I was told by the board to figure out how to make that work, and I believe in conjunction with working with Mr. Anderson and the rest of the staff, I think we came up with a solution for that, which would protect the Highway 98 tourism corridor.
All right. Anyone from the public want to speak on this? Anyone from the public?
Mr. Carver, is this something that you've looked at and you're happy with? Have y'all,
Come
y'all
on up
haven't?
to the
Come
front,
on
Mr.
up.
Carter.
Well, I'll just make a quick statement before he gets up here. The only change that's been made is we're just prohibiting it within 2,000 feet of Highway 98. So all we're doing is pushing it back towards the backside of town. It keeps the tourist corridor clear. So I think this is a great solution. Thank you for that.
I think so too, and I think that we're also going to give our children something to do in this town. Thank you.
I just wanted to speak real quick. You asked us to come back.
Yes, sir.
Again, Randy Carver. And my wife couldn't come last time for having surgeries. Anita.
Nice to see you.
And that just wanted to give a quick update where we were. You told us to progress, and we just wanted to let you know that we currently have a letter of intent on purchase of the land and expect a contract this week. We also have two potential designs. It's just a first go of the, because you asked for a rendering before, and we're working with Miniature Golf Solutions out of Ormond Beach, Florida. They own and build and design miniature golf courses, and plan for that. And what else? We're still talking with the bank, working on the business plan, and just trying to get all our things lined up to where we could be. And if it's okay, I'd like to give you a copy of
Absolutely.
the.
Thank you.
They're black and white, unfortunately. I do have a one color copy starfish or things like that as part of the decoration. We still have our desire to try to work a shark in our logo to be Sharky's Mini Golf.
Do we have that in the agreement already? No, I'm just kidding.
But that's what we'd like to do. So we just still trying to line everything up and just to try to get everything lined up to work forward with this. And we don't take it lightly. I'd just say, it's going to cost over $500,000 to do this project.
You think you got enough land there?
We hope so.
That
That
make it work?
our letter of intent is on 7 of the 0.16 acres, so it's 1.12 acres. So it'll match the current developments behind it. The business and the storage buildings will match to that. And all those lots are in the X flood zone versus the next lot moves slightly from that. But we think that'll be enough to have some type of expansion if need be, for that.
Sounds great to me.
We're here to help you.
I heard there's been a little blow up on Facebook about it. I don't know what they're talking about. People ain't got nothing better to do. You know what I mean? Anyway, we look forward to it. Like I say, our kids then need something to do. They don't need to go to Panama or wherever they have to go to for excitement. I mean, there's a lot of risks, safety risks from traveling that far. You never know when you're going to have a wreck or something. So I want our kids to be able to do something right here. They used to have things to do here. They used to have a skating rink here. There used to be a bowling alley here. I don't know what y'all did to run this city, but, but anyway, we need things, and this is something I think we can live with, and I think it's a good idea, and I hope the citizens will get behind it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I would say we did go to Panama City this weekend and toured all their miniature golfs there to check. And just one thing that our courses currently in our design is they're all ADA.
Right.
You only have to do 50%, but all 18 holes of ours are set for ADA compliance, and
Great.
None of theirs are ADA compliant at all.
I've seen that on your render.
So,
I like that.
makes-
Yep. Good. Great.
any other questions for us? Or?
Well, just
So
trying
we'll
to-
be looking for guidance for next steps as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything
Thank you.
we can do to help,
Yes,
thank
ma'am.
you.
All right. Any further motion on that, huh?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Ashbrook, second by Commissioner Thursday. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Ordinance number 538, an ordinance of the City of Port St. Joe, Florida, repealing a section of the land development regulations of the City of Port St. Joe, Florida, providing for a new section 3.21, providing for repeal of all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. And that's all I have today.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, Jim, you want to take over?
Yes, sir. The first item is in reference to the 10th Street Park. There was a committee meeting last Thursday. What came out of the meeting from last Thursday was to recommend to the county commission for a task order for Preble Ridge, or Dewberry, should I say, to actually go out there and evaluate the pipe to see what can be done. That way we can do an evaluation and a feasibility study.
That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
You need to know about what it's going to cost you before you start a project.
Absolutely.
All right. Anybody want to address that on the board?
No, but I just want to say this. This board voted, was it 4-1 or 5-0 that we were 4-0
To do what?
to do the
Go
10th
along
Street
with it?
project?
It was 4-0.
I
You had
just,
to leave early. that
that's
morning.
right. Let's get behind it and let's get this thing done and give our children something else, a good experience. You know, that's all I have on
You know,
it.
and it's not just for the public, it's not just gonna be ball fields. There'll be some other stuff down there, maybe a little small splash park, some walking trails. So, people can just leave from downtown and actually just walk right over there, and there's a lot of things they can do right there. So it'll be a big attraction to people visiting our city too, for them something more to do to keep them right here in Port St. Joe, where they'll spend more money.
I do have one question.
Yeah.
Who's going to write the grants for the city? I mean, the county's got people working on it right now. We need to have somebody working on it right
Ms.
now.
Charlotte, don't you write grants for the city?
Work with them, yes, sir.
Okay.
At the
We're still looking at hiring a grant writer.
No, we can't wait. There's grants this year that we've got to get on right now.
Oh, I know.
It was discussed at the last committee meeting I went there with Commissioner Brissette that they were going to get Ms. Charlotte in touch with their grant writer, and I believe maybe even be part of that committee. I don't know if Jim told you that you were volunteered.
Miss Charlotte, did you know any of that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, have you talked to her yet?
That's right, I have not.
Would you call her so we can get the ball rolling on that? I mean, like yesterday. Thank you.
One other thing on this is, it's gonna rehab some of our infrastructure down there that's, not so well.
It's a
I mean,
win-win.
I mean,
The ones that are coming up fast approaching are in reference to the FERDAC grants. There was one FERDAC committee meeting. Is there, Mike, can you give us a little bit
They
of
scheduled
information?
another one, but I believe it's on
Is it next week?
the 26th. No,
That's a Saturday.
the 29th, I believe it is.
So that's the immediate need there, is that'll be coming for you.
That
You'll have a
FERDAP
rec-
grant?
Yes, sir.
There's also some more grants, and maybe that girl can tell you, whoever the grant writer is out there,
Yeah.
what they're going out for, and let's do the same thing. Because I don't remember the name of it, but there's another grant too, it's about a $200,000 one. What I understood, that may not be the case, I mean, this was in conversation, but just, let's do what we can, because I'm excited about this, and we can't do without any money.
I believe they announced at that meeting, I'm not sure of the amount, somewhere between $200,000 and $400,000. It would help us with our trails from the college all the way down
Right,
to the
right.
waterfront, so.
Right, yeah, right.
Also, Commissioner Thursby, the TDC, of course, going to hire a design consultant. And she had some that she was already looking at. I asked her if she would lean more toward consultants that have done these type things before in small communities like ours, instead of somebody like they have at Frank Brown Park, Panama.
Right, right.
I want somebody that's experienced in
Well,
a
you
small
know-
community, as well as I asked them also, there was broad discussion about all the wonderful things that we were gonna do down there, but I asked them to make sure that we kept the ballparks as a priority, the ball fields, because that's what the whole thing was in the beginning.
Oh, that needs to be phase one for sure.
Are they planning now to relocate the ball fields to the other end down close to
But,
16?
you know, with water features and all these other things.
Yeah, but-
Oh, they'll come
I
after the
said,
ball
we're
fields.
getting away from,
Baseball
our
fields has gotta be done first,
I did-
because our children gotta have a place to play baseball every year.
I did kind of see that committee looking at the huge 10,000-foot picture, and that's why I asked them to provide us with a map of all that green space in the center of town that we could put an overlay. This is phase one. This is what we're going to do. So hopefully we'll have more information as those meetings progress on exactly what we're looking at. But I do believe that first check is going for mostly the ball fields.
Yeah, and I will say this too, you know, just like with the golf courses, I want us to grow and I want things for our children to do, but it's got to be in good taste and it's got to go with the heartbeat of our community. And I think we're all on board with that. I mean, we don't want some city, New York looking bowl stadium. You know what I mean? I agree with that. That's what I'm getting at.
All right. Next, Jim.
Yes, sir. First item we have under new business is, recall, we did go out to bid for our liability and casualty insurance, and we have Mr. Dwight Van Luke here today to discuss it with us.
Commissioners, how are y'all?
Good, how you doing?
thank you for
Doing
coming.
marvelous. Sir?
Thank you for coming.
Hey, thanks for letting me be here. As you know, we went out for bid, and fortunately, we had all three of the public entity insurers that actually submitted bid proposals for us for consideration. The reality is that the actual low bidder in this particular case was Preferred Governmental Insurance Trust, PGIT in short. That came in at about $222,000, which is about a $59,000 savings from what we currently paid in this fiscal year.
How
So
much?
59,000. Comparing coverage, we actually are improving our coverage. We go from a 5% wind deductible down to a 3% wind deductible. In terms of our auto schedule, that actually, we improved our position with that because of the fact that our fire trucks and those high-valued vehicles are actually going to be insured at an agreed value, not an actual cash value, which is another huge plus. So basically, long story short, my recommendation would be that we definitely go with PGIT for for this upcoming year. Let me also note one additional thing too. That is a 2-year rate lock. So we're guaranteed that same premium next year.
So you're saying it's a no-brainer?
To me, it kind of is,
Right,
you know.
right.
Add 2 and 2 and get 4.
Yeah. So,
I appreciate it, and I also need to tell, I don't know if everybody knows this, people in our community that may watch it on the computer, Commissioner Ashbrook worked his tail off, I think, to try to help get this going, and I know you've worked your tail off to try to get the numbers down. I appreciate all the hard work both you guys did to put into this. And I like your patch. You should have had that on when you had the picture for the billboard. You get that sympathy anyway.
I told somebody I had to have it embroidered, put the
Okay.
eye in there.
Is that what it is? All right.
2 of them.
So that's
No,
basically.
We appreciate you. We appreciate
Well,
all
We
you
do
do.
appreciate it. Well, thank you
Well,
so much.
Commissioners, I'll tell you,
Vote on that.
I guarantee this has been thoroughly looked at, and this is a great deal. And in the sake of getting our budget balanced, I'd say let's go ahead and approve that today, so Mike can use the numbers.
I'd
I'll
like
make-
for somebody on that end to start to making a
I'll
motion.
make-
now.
I'll be glad
Good.
to.
Go
I
ahead,
have
Brad.
a motion from Commissioner Lowry. Have a second.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Brazil. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
The next item we have is in reference to stormwater at 1111 Garrison Avenue. Commissioner Lowry want to talk to you tonight about it.
I put this on the agenda. We had a small issue between a couple, one homeowner and a contractor's building a house next door where a ditch that was on the adjacent property was covered up during the construction. And I think we've come to a resolution. Jim, would you say that with speaking to the contractors, we've come to a resolution?
F&B Builders has agreed to build a stormwater ditch on his client's property. I did speak with him today. They have not started at this point, but he did assure me they would be working on that shortly.
I know Miss Becky's out there. Would you like to speak to this any?
I just wanted to make sure that Dave,
Front and center, please, ma'am. State your name and address.
okay. I just wanted to make sure that the contractors had given y'all some assurance that this would be taken care of pretty promptly. You know, we are still in a storm phase in this community, and every rain that comes, it backs up in my yard. So the ground is completely saturated, and I would suggest, it's just me, a little homeowner, that they open that ditch back up so the water has a place to go instead of just puddling, because not only was my yard backed up with water, but the homeowner, you know, the new construction, their yard was just solid. It was water everywhere. So in order for this not to happen again and again and again until they come to a point where they put that storm drainage in properly, could they open that back up? You know, it's my little piece of paradise, and I'm tired of fighting mosquitoes and water everywhere. So right now, everything's dry, and I think you came by, Mr. Lowry, last. But, you know, if it rains 2 days straight, I'm back up in a puddle.
Yeah.
So if they could just open that ditch, I don't want them to have to move a tremendous amount of soil if their intentions are to use the soil that's there. If they just push it over, just make a trench so the water has a place to flow.
And that sounds like what their plan is.
John, have you
Okay.
looked at that?
All right. I just wanted to make sure. I'm sorry.
Jim, my question is, are they going to have that ditch the length of their property, or just part of the property? In other words, I've had some questions and somewhat complaints about other property owners in that area that their lots back up to the new property, and they've got issues also. And so obviously, in the past, everything's drained from those homes that's been back up this property, as well as the toward Garrison Avenue. So, has that been addressed?
They were debating that today as I spoke this morning. They were considering trying to go it all to the back. I haven't seen anything in writing. I haven't seen a map on it, but yes, sir, that is.
Mr.
I'll
Creel?
defer to Mr.
Maybe I
Creel.
can just a little bit with that. How you do it? Let's see. Bo Creel, I'm building inspector for the city, EPCI. I spoke with Kelly Forehand on Friday. I don't know whether he called me, I called him, but anyway, he said their intention is to, on the new house property, that they're going to take care of that entire situation there on their property. And they do plan to continue the flow similar to what it was doing, but it will be on their sideline. It won't be on Ms. Bateman's side. So, hadn't seen their plan yet. I was a little bit late getting here because they're blocking traffic on Highway 98. That's surprising.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Any other discussion from anybody on this? I think we got it pretty well worked out. Ms. Becky, they're gonna be doing it. Okay, if they don't, you let us know. All right, next.
All right, the next item is a reference to the building department contract. Mayor Patterson want to talk to you today.
Yeah, I think as everybody knows, if they know me, that I've been a proponent of us working with the county in any way we can. I think the city municipality and the county municipalities, they need to be on the same page on a lot of things. They need to work together with a lot of things. So I've just been in a little bit of discussion with the county people about, maybe having the county go back and doing our inspections again. I have nothing against the firm we have doing the inspections now, other than I think this would give our citizens better opportunities to come get permits. They're open from 7 in the morning to 5:30 Monday through Thursday, or other companies open, I think, from 8 to 1, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. How many times y'all do inspections in town, Mr. Bo?
Beg your pardon?
How many times y'all do inspections in town?
We do inspections 5 days a week.
You don't have certain days you don't come
No,
to
sir.
St.
No,
Joe?
sir. The only time we don't come is when we don't have inspections.
Okay, 'cause I was told you only had certain days.
No, sir. No, sir. We, as a matter of fact, just to give you a little information for you. I'm glad I got this opportunity today because we have just finished our ISO Building Code Effectiveness Grading Schedule rating with ISO, and we now, our company, we're the first company they've ever rated. They've rated us as a 3. That is how your insurance for the community is determined, what your insurance rates are determined on. It starts at 10. There are no 1s. That's top of the line. There may be a couple of 2s somewhere in the state. I don't have that information available, but 3 is a darn good score, and we're real proud of it. That 3 extends to any city or county that we do business with. So you automatically get that. And I'm not here to bash Gulf County about anything in the world. Those are fine fellows. I've been knowing Lee for a lot of years, and they do a fantastic job. Gulf County currently is a 5. Some of the things that they rate you on is the qualifications of your staff, the ability of your staff to take care of your workload, and of course how you administer the codes. We've been doing this since 1998. We're solid. We worked on this. I think the first time they did our company, we were a 4, but we got 3 residential, 3 commercial, and like I said, that's going to help you in your community. When everything got kind of slow, we used to be here 5 days a week, full time. I think it was 7:30 to 3:30 or 4 somewhere, whatever the public works department was open. And when everything got kind of slow, then we had to cut back because it just economically wasn't feasible. And just to give you an example of how things work, you remember when they permitted the hospital, I think we brought you guys a check that month for $38,000. That's how much, that was your part went in your budget. The recent apartments up here, we brought you a check for $9,000 for that month. So we return 18% to you. And like I said, as long as we're able to do that, we're going to keep it like that because we didn't make any money a few years, but now we got a good year going on, so we probably make $1. And we cover Apalachicola, we cover here at Mexico Beach. We've got 6 cities in Panama City. We have the city of Blountstown, city of Lynn Haven. All of them now have an ISO rating of 3. And we have similar contracts with every one of them. We currently have 3 building officials. We have 4, 5, 6 building inspectors. We have 3 fire inspectors. We have an engineer on staff. So you can't beat what we got. And like I said, you couldn't pay what we got. We live on permit fees, and that's how we make it work.
The office space you have, do you?
The office
do you get
space,
revenues for that?
you furnish me with office space. That's part of what your 18% covers. Yes. You furnish telephone, office space, and copy machine. I furnish all personnel, everything else that's needed. Be glad to answer any questions anybody might
Anybody have
have.
any questions?
I don't have a question, but, you know, I've heard some people are mad about it and some people aren't mad about it. Personally, I like Bo Creel.
Thank you.
I like Bo Creel. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do what's best for the people of Port St. Joe.
And I
And I'm going to
honestly
sit down
expect
and I'm
that.
going to look at the numbers.
Yes, sir.
And I'm going to be sure we're getting apples to apples and oranges to oranges.
Yes,
And they're
sir.
going to have to show me to where they can provide that.
Yes, sir.
They're going to have to give me at least what you do or more. So I'm fixing to go out of town for a week. When I get back, I'm going to sit down. If we went with the county, it would break my heart as a friend.
Yes.
But I work for everybody in the city of Port
You
St.
do.
Joe, and I've got to do what's right for my people, and I think you understand that.
Yes, sir. And you'll never hear a complaint from me about that.
And that's where I stand. I mean, that's all I have to say.
We're also here as an extension of the board to serve the citizen. That's what our job is.
Thank you both.
And I just want to, be clear that this ISO rating of 3, if we went to a 5 at the county, is there a cost associated with that?
The
to
cost associated be is you might see higher insurance rates in the city.
For
than
the
you-
citizens or for municipal?
For the
insurance?
citizens. For the citizens, for your homeowner's insurance.
And at the present time, the county charges a little less than you charge for inspection.
I don't know what they charge anymore. We did an evaluation when we first took the contract, and ours, I think we might have been a little bit higher on commercial. They were a little higher on residential, but I haven't looked at it since then, so I couldn't honestly answer your question.
I just want to say, again, I expressed it at the last meeting, since as an employee of the county, I'm going to abstain on any vote we take on this matter.
I think I just brought it up today more or less for discussion, to get it out here at the board
Right.
meeting, and so everybody can go back and do their homework.
Sure. That's
and-
what I wanna
and
do.
see
I
where
mean-
we stand. And I'm just like Mr. Thursby. I want to make sure our citizens get the best deal they can get.
Yes, sir. And we're on board with that. We don't have a problem with that.
Mayor, I want to go on record of saying I'm pretty sure I'm going to be against it. I believe in county cooperation. I believe in cooperation among us up here, but cooperation means both sides working together. It appears to me right now that all the cooperation is one-sided. Everything we're shoving is as to the county. And I think we both sits in on PDRB meetings, does LDR. There's a whole lot more than he does that's an expense to him and doesn't cost us anything. I just don't, I'm gonna have to see that it's a tremendous savings to us before I change my mind, and of course, I'm gonna be looking at it closely, talking with local insurance agents about premiums and, making sure we have apples to apples, so.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate the job you do. It says in his contract, 24-hour notice for residential inspections. I mean, you can't get any better than that, so.
Right. I'd heard somebody say they get an inspection from the county in 15 minutes. Well, I don't know. If the inspector's in Cape San Blas, that'd be a hard thing to do.
And I intend to talk to contractors too and see how they're treated in the city with his company, and they're satisfied or not.
Yeah, well, like I say, that's what this is all about.
Sure. Good
Get
deal.
people talking and thinking and coming up with the right solution, the best solution for, and I think when Mr. Bazette talks a lot of time, he talks about the city itself. I talk about citizens.
Yes.
The city of Port St. Joe is going to survive. They're
Citizens
not gonna
are
let
in
it
the
survive.
city, Mayor. I
Yeah, but
mean,
it sounds like when you're talking about city
No,
instead
I'm not
of
talking about
people of the
these
city.
guys in the city hall.
Like you're
The
talking
city
about.
is these people sitting out here.
Our
Okay,
books-
we got that part straight. Yes. Are you through, Mr. Bowden?
I'd just like to say, our books are open. Any information you need from us, it's Kelly Simpson back here. She's the office manager here. She'll be glad to provide it, and I think you've all got my cell phone number. If you don't, Jim's got it anytime.
Thank you, Bo.
Thank you. Come on up.
Christy McElroy, one of those citizens of Port St. Joe.
You know what I mean, I think.
Yeah, I do.
I think Mr. Buzette knew what I meant too.
Sure.
He's talking about the city government.
Yeah,
More
and
than the
I
citizens.
and I think.
He corrected me, but that's okay.
Well, I don't want to get into all that.
I don't want
I want to talk about business.
Okay, go ahead.
So, you know, building inspectors are a revenue generator for areas. Okay? When it was Commissioner Yeager, and I was on the PDRB board for the city, and I very much enjoy my time doing that. It was very educational. But the county has made a bid and tried to have conversations with individuals and make sure that there might be a possibility for them to be our building inspectors. And there's a reason. And I know that you met with now Mr. Yeager and Michael and Don. It's because of the building boom that we've got going on. Things are going in the black. And I would hate for us to not capture that needed revenue for the city. As a city taxpayer, as well as a county taxpayer. But there's something else you need to understand. If we were to turn it over to the county, my understanding is they would add a new person within that department. So that would mean the taxpayers have to buck up and pay that new person. So we're losing generated revenue at the height of building, and we have a different LDR. We've got a planning board, and so it just gets more convoluted. I would say if you want to go out for bid, if you want to renegotiate Mr. Bowe's contract, but we really do need to think about staying independent. And it has nothing to do, this isn't a pay or play situation. No one wants a good relationship with the county more than this citizen. I sit on a lot of boards, and I do it for free because I want my county and my city to both be profitable and do the best they can. And as far as Mr. Brett not voting, I also think we've got another county employee that sits on this board and would probably, it looks just not quite kosher to have the two county employees that are paid by the county for their jobs voting on something like this. So I do hope more citizens will come out and be heard, but this is something that the county has wanted for a number of years because they know it's a revenue generator and it will grow county business and county government. We don't need more government.
Yes, sir, Mr. Thurley.
I have to be excused. I have to get back to work. Ordinarily, I could just stay and stay and stay, but we had a incident at my job place this week, and we're about 3 people short-handed, and my boss man had a heart attack. So I hate to leave all you good people, but I got to go make some money for Mama.
Today.
Thank y'all. Miss Mindy.
All right.
Bo, I just have one more comment on that topic.
Yes, come on, man.
Mindy Pate, Southgate.
I want to applaud Mr. Buzette for his comments regarding the separation between the city and the county. Also, for Mr. Lowry, for his ability to say that he didn't feel that it was his place to share opinions in voting on this. I want to speak regarding the city building department on a personal level. When we moved to Port St. Joe 5 years ago, we were committed to make this our final move in our hometown. I've become extremely involved in the community, in charity works, and other events. When we, my husband also was a 20-year building inspector in electrical, so he well knows what codes were in Ohio, and there is a great difference between that and Florida. Hopefully Florida is learning to come up with the standards, and I don't mean that in a real negative way. I mean that in the aspects for safety and quality. When we added a 4,200 square foot addition to our current home, and we had building inspection after building inspection, we did not always agree with what Mr. Creel's decisions were, but they were for the safety of our home and the quality that we had built. This was a totally different ballpark game for us living in a hurricane zone. I cannot speak highly enough for the work that he did for us and how he made us meet those standards. During that time, we also had a number of subcontractors working for us. I could not mention their names because they wouldn't go on record. But the first thing they said was they were, many of them had worked at the county, and they said, when we work at the county jobs, we're glad that we don't have to deal with Bo Creel because his standards are much higher. So I think that speaks very highly for his company. As it is right now, we've purchased a building on Reed, one of the old buildings that we are putting extensive remodeling done in it, and a lot of funds. We intend to be here. We intend to support the community. We're running into all kind of things, whether it be roof issues, interior issues. It is turned into a muddy pit, but it's one that we are enjoying, and we're looking forward to being part of the community. But my feelings regarding merging with the county, the city has its own individual issues. That's what needs to be dealt with. We are a county, yes, but a city of Port St. Joe has unique issues that cannot be dealt with on a county level. And as far as the county inspectors, I think they have their hands full keeping the properties from falling into the Gulf. So I think for us, we need to respect, and I would seriously want to participate in any kind of meetings that are going to make any kind of decisions regarding even changing the current contract that we have with Mr. Creel. I support it wholly. He's a phenomenal man as a person and an individual and of high integrity. That's my own personal feeling. I also think that any of the board members that have had any kind of conflicts with him over any kind of things that maybe his decisions did not sit well with them, I'm asking them, respectively, to abstain from voting also. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Mayor, go ahead.
Well, you go ahead.
Okay, I just want to go on record saying that, you know, when this got brought up, I had no feelings one way or another, other than I have worked with Bo, and I think he does a great job. This is the first I've heard of an ISO rating. I think before any of us make any decisions, we really need to weigh what it is actually going to cost the citizens. Whether, you know, we may save them some money on an inspection up front, but is their insurance cost going to go way up? Best case scenario, I don't want to give it to anybody. I think if we do make any changes, it should be a fair process. An RFQ should go out, and then we weigh all this stuff. Maybe we come up with someone with an ISO rating of 1, if they exist, but highly doubtful. So I just want people to know I'm not prepared to vote on anything that would just automatically give it to the county, and that's all I have to say.
Several years ago, I attended a League of Cities meeting. Some of you guys are getting ready to leave for this week. And at that time, our city was talking about consolidating or giving up the police department, letting the county do our law enforcement force. I was talking to and so it's kind of related somewhat, given relinquishing that control. and talked to the mayor of Daytona Beach, who Daytona had given up their police force to the county. And I asked him how that was going. He said it's the worst decision they ever made because they lost total control of that issue. So it's going to take a lot to get me to change my mind to give the county our code enforcement, not code enforcement, building department.
And again, as I say, it was brought up for discussion, and since we got a lot of discussion, so we got, everybody needs to go do their homework and get numbers, and then we'll see where it falls.
All right.
All right, Jim?
Yes, sir. The next item we have is in reference to code enforcement. Mayor Patterson, want to talk to you tonight about it?
Our code enforcement, I brought it up at our last budget meeting, just that I didn't think we were getting the consistency that we needed. We were getting a day here, maybe another day here, half a day. We were getting 20 hours a week. And during the 20 hours a week, the man has to do paperwork, so therefore you're cutting back on his time being in the field. So I suggested we go to 28 hours a week. Well, the current code enforcer, he and I sat down and discussed this, and he has come up with a plan. Things I was concerned with was the pay, having somebody work on Saturday, and consistency. And he's given me a plan that he can take a little less pay. He can work Saturday every other week. He can give me specific days that he will be working. And he's done exactly what I wanted to get done. Like I say, I didn't necessarily mean I wanted to get rid of him, but I just wanted our code enforcement to be better for our citizens. More time in the field, giving us a Saturday, a couple Saturdays a month, and a little less pay than what we were paying. And I don't know, do we need to vote on this or anything, Jim, or just follow it through when it comes about?
Mayor, this is actually changing somebody's pay and their actual job duties on there. So yes, sir, this is actually something that's supposed to be taken care of by staff level, to be honest with you.
Well, y'all can talk with him and
Yes, sir. Section
discuss
28 of the actual city charter actually refers to this being handled by staff level. You're talking about somebody's pay and their job duties, because we pride ourselves in customer service, to be honest with you. That's our #1 priority. If we put Mr. Burkett out there in a car all day long, you're going to have to buy computer stuff, you're going to have to have an air card, wherever we're going to put his office at. There's a lot of more money that's going to be involved in this than an old car that's a car that's 15 years old.
He and I have worked out a deal. Now, y'all say you got to do it, and that's fine, but he and I talked. We just discussed things. And I came to you and told you exactly what we discussed. So I don't know why you didn't tell me any of that day. You're now telling me that it's a staff job, but you didn't tell me that when I told you what me and him discussed. You said, okay, fine. That's what you told me. Okay, fine. I was there. I heard what you said. Did you not say okay, fine when I told you? What did you say to me then?
I said, I hear you, Mayor. I said what you're saying.
Oh, so you just pushed me aside and didn't want to discuss the issue at that time, but that's okay.
Can we get the mayor and staff and Richie
together?
together?
You can discuss it with him, but I'm trying to do what's best for our citizens. And it may cost us $2,500 to put him stuff in his car where he can do just like a police officer. He can do his reports right from his car. He can sit down at the boat ramp while he's doing them, be a presence there. But I'm trying to get more for our citizens. And me and him worked out a deal. If he needed to use that office for Munis, he could have it for that time period. I told him that. But evidently, I didn't need to talk to him at all from what I'm hearing today. And I'm not very happy about it, I can tell you that right now. I could have been told, but we'll discuss that another time, me and you.
Mayor, you've been here long enough. You know, we set policy up here. The city manager does hiring and firing. That's according to the city charter. I'm sure you know that. I don't think it's a surprise to you. So, I mean, we can't go out and negotiate with any employee about what they're going to make or who we're going to hire or who we're going to fire. We can't do that.
I can't go talk to them and discuss it, and then they can go to staff and they can make a decision. My hands are tied. I'm the mayor of this town.
You can discuss.
I am the mayor. Okay? I was voted in by over 60-something% of these people. And I'm tired of being treated like nothing.
You have one vote just like everybody else.
I need an office in City Hall, Commissioner Bezette.
You had an office out here, you think?
It ain't no good out here.
I don't know why.
Me and you will discuss this later, too, because I'm telling you right now, we can get in some trouble, me and you, about this. Belittling me like you are. No, I'm telling you, 65% of the citizens of this town voted for me. I'm just trying to do things to help our citizens. And if I was supposed to do it another way, I should have been told that instead of being told this in a meeting today. We even had a staff meeting since then. I wasn't told anything about that. I wasn't told, Mayor, you should have done this, should have done that. That's all I would have needed to know. But I'm going to quit and be quiet about it because it shouldn't be discussed right now. But I am a little disturbed about it.
Well, Mayor,
You to tell me that an office out here is good enough for the mayor?
No,
You don't know what you're talking about, okay?
Mayor, you
No,
requested.
just leave it right there.
No, these people.
I
need to
asked
know.
them for, you know what it put me at when I first, no, I'm not discussing more, excuse me, we're not gonna discuss this anymore here. I apologize, but let's go on with our meeting. What's next, Jim?
The next item we have is a reference to the Waste Pro contract. Commissioner Ashbrook want to talk to you tonight about it.
yeah, I mean, I didn't know it would be on this agenda today. I just wanted to make sure that we followed up, and I did get an email where you had sent a message or a letter over to Waste Pro, and I'm making it priority in Orlando to go meet with them and tell them about our concerns. So I just want to make sure that we're on top of that. I know the county sent their letter off, and we need to possibly just start thinking about fining if there's violations of their contract, or start looking for someone else to have a contract with.
Commissioner Ashbrook, I've been hearing that they get our message. They're listening to.
Are they doing anything about it?
meetings. And I'm thinking they may hire somebody to handle some of these issues that we're facing. They've been missing. I know they've missed at least 2 whole pickups in the city, even possibly more.
And that's just one problem. I mean, Jim, was it this morning that the trash truck just dumped all kinds of juice in the parking lot, and I had to hold my breath walking into City Hall this morning?
I've been seeing the same complaints as well, but let's move forward. I mean, keep going until something gets done about it.
We just need to put some teeth in it. Let's enforce the letter of the law of that contract and start fining.
I agree.
Keep on them, Jim. That's all I have.
Public Works.
The only thing I have, Mayor, is just to inform the board, I think I've talked to most of you individually, but we installed and have in service the high school lift station. We were able to do that last week, so that was a big project off our books, so just want to let you guys know that.
Have you moved those temporary pumps to First Street? Is First Street working?
It's working now.
Okay.
Better go check after this meeting since you just said that.
Yeah.
It's working now.
John, please let staff know that we greatly appreciate it.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of hard work
It
put
was
into
a
that.
tough project, but it turned out good, so, yeah. But unless there's any questions from the board, that's all I have.
I think we're good.
Any questions for John?
No.
Thanks, John. All right, wastewater, surface water, let's go there first.
Mr. Mayor, I just have one thing. In our current budget, we had set aside some money for the renovation of one of our clarifiers. And I'd like your permission to go out and bid to, the renovation of clarifier number 3.
And how much money is it?
I think it was 70 in the budget, wasn't it?
Yeah, we got 65.
Okay. All right.
So moved.
Have a motion from Commissioner Brazil.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Ashbrook. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. All right, thank you, Larry. Jim, you anything for Kevin? Anything going on there? that we
No,
need
sir,
to know
he's got a
about?
slim crew today. He said there is a smell, that they do have an algae bloom out at the wastewater plant, so hopefully the wind will change direction. He said everything's working, but there is a smell.
People in Highland View said it's stifling to them. They can't hardly even breathe.
Jim, is his staff level 100%?
He is down one person.
He's still down one person. And has that gone out to bid, or is that for the gentleman on the sick leave?
We are working on that now, trying to fill it, but yes, sir, we do have. He does have one new employee, and we have one that we need.
So we're looking for one.
Yes.
All right, Finance Director.
I just wanted to give you an update on one option for the budget general fund, and I had some numbers here for our meeting next Thursday as a different option to try to help us get the general funds sorted out.
Does this include the insurance bid?
It is. It does include the insurance adjustment. So if you remember, we were at a deficit of $69,000, and I went back and went over the general fund in great detail, especially the big revenue movers for the sales tax, and we got updated numbers for July, And we looked at those numbers again, and I recalculated, and I was able to generate a little bit higher revenue projections for the budget for next year, and that's the $33,000. Then we added the $500 for the library. We capped the health insurance at $705. I found a bogey in the budget, and that was last year we had used BP funds to cover the city match for 2 large grants, and I had not adjusted that number out. So, so that's the $44,000 bogey there. So to offset that, I worked with our CPA and talked with John about the use for that Ford F-350, and we both agree we can move that to wastewater funds and help offset that general fund issue. So we moved the F-350 to wastewater.
Did that affect that enterprise fund?
It did, only in the $400,000 that we had in large capital projects related to Long Avenue.
Okay.
The overage that we had to cover in case we had a lot of expenses related to sewer in the Long Avenue project. So it reduced it from $450,000 to $410,000 in the wastewater related to wastewater improvements. So it had some impact on the wastewater, but not a significant amount. Then I went through a hard look at all of the individual expenses for electrical, communications, and gas, and adjusted some by $500 amounts to come up with a small $4,500 savings. I removed the expenses related to the K-9 for training and food. I removed one capital item for the sign. I adjusted the property liability down to the $222,000 that was just approved today. That wasn't that big an adjustment to the general fund because we have an offsetting revenue reimbursement. So even though we're savings $59,000, it actually nets to a $40,000 savings because of that revenue reimbursement we get from Florida League. So the net is a $40,000 savings in the liability, property and liability insurances. And then there was a small adjustment to a couple of employees' salaries because we found out that one person in the police department and one admin person were leaving, so there was adjustments to those small salaries in order. So that's where we are right now, and that's just an option for you to consider for our next budget meeting to get us down to a more manageable deficit in the general fund. Any questions?
Thank you, Mike.
Appreciate it, thanks. All right, come on up.
Not a lot for you. Commissioners, they're pouring the cap at the boat ramp on that south wall today, so that's kind of a big milestone for them. They're getting that. They should finish that pour today, and then it'll cure over the next coming days. But there'll be small things going on after that down there, putting up the bumpers and the things on the wall, and then, you know, nothing really large until after Labor Day when they come back and tear up all that concrete in the middle. Probably sometime middle of September. We can talk more about it at your meeting on the 5th on when y'all exactly want to see that happen, but probably no sooner than the middle of September, just to make sure we don't mess up, you know, any last rush of boats at the end of the season. But that was the update, unless there were questions from me.
It's looking good down there.
It's coming along.
It's going to be nice.
It's coming along.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you. Code enforcement, you can see on your paper what's being done there. Police department.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have anything on the agenda. I just would like to sort of make an announcement that we had our youngest police officer resign a week ago last Friday. So he'll be working through the 24th, so we're advertising for a police officer. So if you know somebody who grew up here and loves Port St. Joe and its citizens, we'd like to have them.
And Chief, I might understand that part of that is, honestly, the majority of it wasn't pay related. Some of it was, but the other big factor was couldn't find a place to live.
Well, that's part of it, and that's going to be, doesn't matter if you work for John or you work for Larry or you work at the police department.
I just wanted to say
He
that,
got a-
that a
he's
lot of
getting-
these zoning changes that we're making to multifamily is going to directly help these people. I mean,
Yeah.
we've got low-income housing, we've got plenty of high-income housing. There's not a lot in the middle, and that's why you'll see all of us up here on this board, I think, proactively encouraging multifamily units to start coming into town.
I appreciate you bringing that up,
Yeah.
Commissioner Ashburn.
We need something. I mean, this young man's getting a $4,800 a year raise, which is $400 a month. But when you can rent a place in Panama City for $800 and you can't find anything less than $1,100 or $1,000 here, it makes a difference. And a regular city employee that we hire at $13 an hour, I mean, they don't qualify to live at Paces. They make too much money, which to me makes no sense. But anyway, I just wanted to, if y'all know somebody, encourage them to turn in an application. Anybody listening, turn in an application if you qualify. We need some good police officers. That's all I got.
Thank you,
Thank
Chief.
you, sir. Ms. City Clerk.
Yes, sir, we've had some inquiries concerning our Ghost on the Coast and Christmas on the Coast. In your agenda for today, I've given you dates that have worked for us in the past, the actual day of Halloween, and then the second Saturday in December, which is like your approval, so we can start getting these dates out. People are putting it on their websites and start crowding everybody up for all the events.
Is something we need to vote on or just agree with it?
Looks fine to me.
Looks fine to me?
Disagree is
Yeah.
fine.
Yep. Anybody disagree?
Nope.
Nope.
Put it out
We're
there.
looking for 5 real good volunteers sitting up there, so just mark those dates on your calendar.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Citizens to be heard. Anyone in the audience, come on up.
There are a couple of things. First thing is, as you well know, I utilize the library quite a bit. And our church, I am an elder of our church, and we did donate $2,500 over summer camp to make sure kids could get transportation into the library. And that was a very successful program. It was, the kids were well behaved. They were a joy to be with over at the library. I spoke with Miss Nancy. They want to see that program not only continue, but to also expand, meaning that the middle school kids, she sees, you know, their minds being turned on, and so they're looking at maybe doing something around sporting events and sporting sports people that come in and turn the kids on to, you know, reading more about sports, whatever it takes to get them to read. So I just wanted the city to know that all those dollars that are given by the county and the city are very important to both our Humane Society and our library. The second issue I would like to discuss is I did take a look at your workshop. And and of course I saw the citizen that came and addressed the city worker that is also serves as a county commissioner. And when this first came up, I thought, I listened to what everybody said. I watched the tape 3 different times, and I said, let's wait and see how this all goes down. But I did ask for a public records request for this individual, and it equates to $3,434 that the city has paid this individual for being on county business and not working at his city job.
How many days was that?
I have it in hours. The first one was 58, and the second one was 80 hours. So it was broken down in the way that this was given to me. And then the second thing is, if you look, because I also wanted to get the compensation of this individual, and if you look at his sick time and all the time that he has available, he can take time to go and do some of these things. So sitting back, waiting and see. But one of the things that I heard was this would be brought up again. So this is a situation where you know, you look at the library, you look at the Humane Society, you look at all the need, you look at fountains that aren't running, and this is a lot of money. It's a lot of money whether you're wealthy or you're poor for that amount of time. So I'm going to give this along with the article that was written in the paper, and Mr. Croft captured that rather well. And we need to make sure that the citizens and the taxpayers of the city are rewarding people for work. And he's not a lobbyist. He's not one of our county commissioners that, you know, is in the city district. And so, again, I don't think it pays dividends. I think paying dividends as someone who owns stock in a lot of different companies, what that means is the corporation rewards their shareholders with cash, property, or stock directly. So dividends, it will not pay. So I will hand this over. And then I guess the last thing that I want to bring up, and this is going to be controversial, and I just don't care, because I am tired of coming to these meetings and seeing our mayor attack people. And as far as the medical marijuana, I completely understand why you're so interested in seeing medical marijuana.
You'll be sued because you can't tell me what that is. You will be sued over that.
Good. Sue
Y'all
me.
need an attorney? I want
Sue
you to
me.
Make note of this. She's saying
Sue
something
me.
about me that she can't
I did
prove.
not say anything. I said I understand.
Right. I know what you're saying.
Picture says
People
1,000
understand about
words.
you also.
I don't need to say anything.
Right.
But I do have to comment on your anger issues, and you really need to go to anger management or
Today
do
is the
something.
First day, Ms. McMorland, I've let my anger get to me.
No,
You know that.
you've
that.
gavelled me down on several
I had a reason. You
occasions.
were arguing with our attorney, and I had to stop doing that.
No.
was
Your
the reason.
attorney was arguing with me.
Okay.
You need to get your staff in check.
Sure.
So, but Jim, I'm sorry you had to take a bunch of grief today. I thought that was pretty unnecessary too. So I'll go ahead and give
Well, you
this to
threw
Ms.
now
Sharp.
because your comments
Yeah.
we don't need really.
Yeah.
I mean, you can talk but not the comments.
Any other?
All right. Anybody else in the audience? Anyone else? Anyone else in the audience? Commissioner Mazette, we'll start with you.
Don't have anything, Mayor.
Don't have anything.
Gotta go back to work.
Don't have anything.
I'm good.
Don't have anything. Need a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
All right.